All right, we are one day later, or the next morning. Here's what the dough looks like being in the fridge overnight. It rose a lot, double in size, which is what you wanted. And you see how it's touching the top of the plastic? That's why we wanted the grease on the top of the dough as well. So when I lift this plastic off, it doesn't get stuck. Okay. If you were just waiting the hour instead of leaving it overnight, it should still have grown this much. Okay, so now we're going to punch the dough down. You take your fist, put it right in the middle, and just go push, and you're getting rid of the big air pockets, big air bubbles. Okay, so one push down, then we gather our dough up, okay, and we place it onto a lightly floured surface. Okay, so we can take a little bit of flour and just lightly flour that surface. Okay, you will need space. It will be needing to be, the rectangle you're going to roll needs to be about 9 inches by 18 inches, basically. This pan is a 9 by 13 pan, so bigger than that. Okay, so a little bit longer than that. All right, so gather that dough up into a sort of ball, and it's always good to try and start by pushing out the rectangle shape with your hands first. Okay? Every once in a while checking underneath that it's not sticking as you're rolling. Okay? So I'm going to push that dough out with my fingers first, just to make approximately a rectangle shape. Then when you get to rolling, it will be easier to get it the right shape. Okay? Don't forget to sprinkle a little flour on your rolling pin and rub that around. Okay, and pushing forward, pushing back. Okay, and don't forget to go this way, pushing forward, pushing back. And we're going to roll that out to about 9 by 18 inches or 23 by 45 centimeters. Here we are. Try to keep it the even thickness throughout the whole flattening, rolling. Okay, so you don't want thick spots, so roll that out. And it doesn't have to be a perfect rectangle, but do the best you can. Okay, now we're going to take some softened butter or margarine. Make sure it's soft, because then you're going to spread that on like you would spreading on toast. Okay, so it needs to be soft. If it's not soft enough, pop it into the microwave for just about 10 seconds, and that should soften it up pretty well. Much better once it's softened a little bit. So spread that out through the whole dough and leave an edge about 2 centimeters, about an inch away from the far edge, and you're going to roll towards that edge. So you need to leave space for all that cinnamon filling to not overflow. There we go, mostly spread out as even as possible. And then I've already got my brown sugar and cinnamon mixture. So this, in the recipe, does just say 150 mils sugar, and I chose to use brown sugar. You could use white sugar if you want, and then about 15 mils of cinnamon. Okay, we're going to take that and sprinkle it over the whole dough, evenly if possible, and that butter or margarine will have it stick to it nicely. Okay, remember to leave that edge over there, because as we roll, it will get pushed that direction. Okay, so I can just use my fingers and even this out a little bit. Okay, we are ready to roll. Ready to rock and roll. All right, so taking this edge closest to you, you're gonna tuck in that first part there. So just fold that first edge right over, and then using my fingers, tucking in with my fingertips and rolling up with my thumbs, I'm gonna tuck in and roll. See, my thumbs are pushing up on that side, and then I'm gonna go over to this side and do the same, and pushing down as I go forward. So push, tuck, so you could do half a little bit at a time. First this side first, then roll it over to this side. And you're trying to get a nice tight roll. You don't want this to fall apart. You want all of that cinnamon goodness to stay inside. So you see now I'm using my sort of heel of my hand to push up. And you're just gonna push, 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 push. And then once you get to the end, see, good thing we left all that space because the cinnamon's getting pushed out there, is you're going to take that end and pinch that dough together. See that? I'm just taking that. Don't worry about the look right now. We'll flatten that out after. But you want to pinch that dough together all the way down so that it seals the cinnamon in. Okay. So now that I pinched it, we can just roll it onto that side and flatten it out a bit. Just roll it back and forth, and that'll flatten out that lip. Okay, okay, we're ready to cut this into rolls. Okay, I've got a greased 9x13 cake pan. Just use a bit of shortening on a piece of parchment or wax paper and rub that all around, get into the corners, and grease it well on the edges as well. You could use cooking spray, you could use a little bit of butter if you need to, or oil, so anything will work. Okay, and we're going to cut this into 12 slices. So there's two different ways you can cut it. If you're going to use a knife, I would use a serrated knife and use a sawing motion, but don't forget to put that on a cutting board, okay, because we don't want to be cutting on the counter. Okay, so we could cut that right in half first. Okay, sawing motion back and forth will make sure that you get a nice round roll. Whereas if you just push down, okay, I'll show you that with the other half. So we would go in half again. If you just push down, you'll see that will make a very oval shape. Okay, so saw it back and forth will make it a much nicer cut. And then another way we can do this, so I'll do it with the knife here. So I need 3 more. Another way you can do it is with floss, okay, dental floss or string. So you take a decent piece out, you slide this under your roll. Okay, we want to go halfway. You cross that string and you pull. So you got to cross it exactly away from each other. Oh, maybe get a little bit of a longer piece. There we go. And that will cut it like that as well. Okay, so if you decide to use the floss, you just wrap it around your fingertips and you slide it under and you go across. Okay, now we're ready to put them in our greased pan. Try to put the smaller, if you have any ones that weren't really even, put the smaller ones in towards the middle. Okay, so we've got 12 rolls here. We'll do 3 by 4. Okay. Now you'll see there'll be space in between your rolls, because that is good. We're going to leave these to rise one more time. We're going to cover it loosely with some wax paper or a damp cloth, and then we're going to let it rise until it's double in size again, so about another hour. Oh, there we go. We're going to let these rise a second time, okay? But before we do that, we are actually going to pour over. Okay, once we're ready to put them in the pan, I'm going to pour the second amount of butter. Remember the 125 we split into 60 mils margarine, or 60 mils butter or margarine, and 60 mils of melted butter or margarine. So here's the melted butter or margarine, and we're going to pour that right into the pan. And you're going to let that run all around your pan. This is that extra sort of caramelization on the bottom of your cinnamon buns. It's going to create a little bit of ooey gooeyness on the bottom of your cinnamon buns. Okay, so put that butter, get it all the way around on the bottom of the pan, and then now you can start putting them into the pan, 3 by 4. So it's okay if there's space in between them because we're going to let them rise for another hour until they get double in size again. Okay, so now we're going to take a damp cloth or a piece of wax paper or even that oiled saran wrap, okay, and just cover it and leave it for another hour to get bigger and doubled in size. It should fill in these spaces. Okay, okay, here are the buns after 1 hour of rising. Notice they've filled up the pan and they are ready to go in the oven for about 25 minutes at 350 degrees. Now here they are after about 25 minutes. They're looking nice and risen and golden. And remember the sound we're looking for? If you can hear that hollow sound, I will try that again. That means they are cooked through. Okay, nice, hot, ooey gooey cinnamon buns. And if you want, you could put a glaze, a cream cheese glaze would be nice. A little cream cheese mixed with some icing sugar and a little bit of water, and that would be great on top. Hope you enjoy.
On the side of her house.